Welcome to a new lens with CommonGood Capital, where we talk with investors, RIAs, fund managers, and philanthropists about their experiences within the different impact investing themes, as well as explore the power of stewardship and capital. I'm your host, Jeff Shafer, CEO of CommonGood Capital, and I am so excited to be interviewing Ferdinand, and you're going to hear obviously more of his stories. We met a couple weeks ago on his backyard, or in his backyard. I was at a due diligence trip in Africa, specifically Rwanda and then Kenya. Ferdinand he's got a great smile. Most of you will probably not see a video of this, but just know when I just thought of talking to you, you got this infectious smile. So I'm sure that will come through in your voice. But he is an amazing guy who is taking advantage of some opportunities that have been put in front of him, and you'll get to hear about how he's done that. Just a brief intro, and then I'll let him describe who he is. Ferdinand is a recent hire of Fortis Green, and I believe you're an investment analyst with Fortis Green, right?
Yes.
So welcome, and you are in Kigali, Rwanda today at the headquarters for Fortis Green. So let's start off and give us a little background of your growing up, your school experience, and then just a little bit of your career as well, which I know you're just getting started in the career, but we could probably talk the whole podcast just about your story. So give us a little bit of sense of who Ferdinand is and where you went to school.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you so much, Jeff. Yeah. Like you say, my name is Ferdinand Turatsinze, and I was born and raised in Rwanda. I grew up in a small town called Nyamirambo, Kigali. It's the capital of Rwanda, and that's where I went for my primary school. And later, I attended Agahozo-Shalom Youth Village, which is a school that helps orphanage and other vulnerable kids that are looking for support in their school, in their education. And from there, that's where I earned the full scholarship to the University of Nebraska Lincoln for my bachelor's degree, which was very exciting.
All right, so slow down. I'll make sure people heard that. The University of Nebraska.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. University of Nebraska Lincoln.
So are you a Cornhusker fan?
Yes, Cornhusker fan, yeah.
All right, keep going.
Yeah, and after Nebraska, I worked for 2 years. Later, I was like, oh, I gotta go back to school. And that's how I ended up at the University of Notre Dame. And I did their master's in business and innovation. I'll talk a little bit about how I ended up going to Notre Dame later. But yeah, that's where I went for grad school, and then I graduated last year. So I worked for the Idea Center. It's like an incubation where students come in, introduce their ideas, their business ideas, and then we turn them into a venture. So I worked there for a little bit, working for an impact venture. And then actually, it's a good time now to step into the financial industry, like step in, put my foot in. And that's how I decided to move to Rwanda to join the Fortis Green renewables as an investment analyst. I'm really, I would say it's been, 3 to 4 years of working experience, but because of the transition that I did coming from research to investment management, now I would say I have just 1 year of experience in investment management. So I'm doing a transition there. I wouldn't say that I have big experience.
Well, you've had a lot of life experience as well. So if you don't mind, can you tell us a little bit about Agahozo-Shalom and your experience there? And just to set the context for listeners, it's amazing how this stuff works. So Fortis Green is in process of acquiring a solar farm that sits on land owned by Agahozo-Shalom Youth Village. And so once we acquire that solar farm, or any of the owners for that matter, they pay rent for that land for like the next 90 years that goes to the youth village, which helps partially fund what they do. So there's a connection there. So it's quite amazing that Fortis Green is going to acquire that. And then you are a graduate of Agahozo-Shalom. And I have visited, in fact, I got to visit with you, and I've visited a couple times. So give us just a little context of who goes to Agahozo-Shalom and then how that helps shape you.
Who goes to Agahozo-Shalom? It's any vulnerable kid who is orphan and who is looking for support. It could be financially, anything that can help you mentally, anything that can help you in your education. So Agahozo-Shalom brings that makes that impact on you brings a home to you, helps you grow mentally and your education wise. So it helps you in everything that you might need in the process because for instance, I'll talk about my story because that's the one I can easily relate to. A genocide against Tutsi survivor here in Rwanda. And before Agahozo-Shalom, I was being supported by a fund that supports genocide survivors here in Rwanda. And like I couldn't see myself going forward education-wise because even though the genocide survivor fund was there, but was not enough for me to keep going in school. So the Agahozo-Shalom, when they started recruiting, I didn't even know about the Agahozo-Shalom until my school, the school that I went to, I had great grades. And they were like, oh, actually, there's another school that takes students who are going to A level, to next level of high school. And they're like, oh, you actually probably would fit in since you're good, you have good grades, and we can see potential to you. So they gave out my name to the district, and that's how it works. Like normally they give your name to the district, and then when that girls start reaching out to other students or visiting students, they go to the district to find the list of the name, and then they started looking who are the students who really deserve the opportunity. So that's how I ended up at Agahozo. And Agahozo Shalom, when I went there, I really like it's so hard to dream when you can't even afford the basic needs.
Mm-hmm.
So the Agahozo Shalom kind of opened my eyes, gave me a purpose, and gave me an opportunity to dream. So it was a nice opening experience when I got there, and the opportunity that it gave me, it's not just education. It gave me a family. It gave me something that a kid would need of my age. So I had an opportunity. I had a mom. I had cousins. I had the therapist, like anyone that can support me in my journey. So it was easy for me to focus on school because I had a support, mental support, and even other basic needs that would need the agricultural mode of life. So like I would say the Argos kind of like gave me a purpose. It changed my view of the world, and it wasn't now because of me, but it was now because of others. Like I started not only living for me trying to survive, but also how can I help others live and survive.
So, and you don't have to answer this question if you don't feel comfortable. Do you have living parents?
No.
So you're an orphan in this definitional sense.
Yes.
Just to give context, when you and I and a group went to Agahozo-Shalom 2-3 weeks ago, it was so fun to watch you find I don't know, you call your mama, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so all these students live in a house, a separate, I mean, I don't know how many houses, but roughly 20 kids to a house, and each has a mama. And so it was so awesome to watch you, the joy for you. And you did finally connect with her, didn't you?
Yes, yes, I did. Yeah, I connected with her. Yeah, it was a long time since I've seen her because I was out of the country, but it was so good to connect with her again. But we've been talking about, we haven't seen each other in a while, so it was so nice to see her and to get to know even other students now. She's the mother of. So it's like kind of like you have brothers now. She has girls now, they're sisters. So it's like the family is growing.
Had you been back to Agahozo since you graduated?
Yes, so many times.
Okay. So then then this question probably is hard to answer. I just was curious what's it like going to Agahozo-Shalom today at your age versus when you were 15 or whatever? I mean, does it feel exactly the same, or is it like, what's the feeling?
Uh, it kind of feels different because the first time when you go there, like everything looks good. Like you've never lived that life. So everything is vanishing, everything is so good. And you're also like you're trying to navigate what is happening to you because it's too much to process. But now when I go there, it's more like I'm at home. Now I need to embrace this is my home. And now I need to embrace what is happening. And it feels great because it's a place that made me who I am.
Mm-hmm.
So the connection I have with it is totally different from anywhere I could go. And even if I would go there and find nobody that I know, like no person that I know, I think I would still have that kind of connection with the place, with the impact it had on me.
So then, how did you get from Agahozo to Nebraska?
That's a good question. So when I think I was in senior four, I started seeing some of the kids that were coming from the village going to college, and some were going to great college. They were going through a program called British Rwanda. You probably have my inspiration now became like, oh, I need now to go to college in the US or in Europe because that was the dream. So I started, I think I was in Singapore. I started doing TOEFL practice, SAT, ACT, like all those exams that could help me get into college because that's what the Agahozo counselors were telling us. So I started doing a practice, and in my senior year, I had a counselor, a mentor, and she told me her name is Ketura or Katrina Webusta. She helped me go through the whole process of applying to college. I applied to over like 10 to 15 college in the US. I had like two other supporters, including and Fields from Agahozo, Samamat. Those are all the counselors that we had in Agahozo that was helping us to go through the college application process. So they helped me understand what it's like to apply to college in the US. And later I was introduced to this scholarship that was coming in Rwanda for students who are looking to go in the US to study about agriculture. Honestly, my dream wasn't agriculture when I applied to this school because I was like, actually, I want to do business. I want to get into like specifically a business, but they told us that they also have agribusiness. So I was like, actually, it would be easy for me to connect my background, the business. So that's how I applied to the University of Nebraska Lincoln scholarship, and the scholarship was funded by Howard Buffett.
Howard Buffett. All right.
And he had a great relationship with Rwanda, and that's how I ended up with. That's how I went about the University of Nebraska Lincoln.
So did you ever meet Howard?
Yes, we have. He actually attended a couple classes, and I've been to his house in Nebraska, so it was nice. Yeah.
You been to Howard, or you been to Warren's house?
Howard.
Howard. Okay. Very, very cool. So you are 3-4 years into your career and you've done a couple things. So how would you best describe yourself in the context of where you're at in your life journey?
That's a great question. Actually, I've been thinking about it, but every time I think about it, I'm like, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm where I'm supposed to be. Because looking at having 3 to 4 years of experience at work would mean like, actually, like, this is the time where I start stepping in the senior positions. But like because of the transition that I'm making in my career, and I need to start at the bottom where I need to understand what is happening, what in the ecosystem, the market, where do I position in? If you ask me how then even end up here, when I graduated at the University of Nebraska Lincoln, I started working with an institution called Dory Water for Food Global Institute. It's an institution affiliated with the University of Nebraska, and I was doing research to understand different types of irrigation business models, their impact on smallholder farmers. So I was looking into how these small startups can support smallholder farmers, especially the ones that are kind of connected to the small startups. So I was supporting them in workshops, helping them to understand the business model canvas, taking them through customer discovery using Steve Blank theory, and all that kind of like gave me another is like actually just giving them the theory how to do this practice is not enough. I need to know how can I even help them, how can I even fund them to do all this research. So I got an idea of starting my own venture studio, and I didn't have any capacity to start my own venture studio. I didn't have any experience in managing a fund, managing startups, and that's how I was like, I need to go back to school to learn how to do this, transition to this. And then that's how I applied to University of Notre Dame to understand better how the startup work, how do they raise funds, how do you build a relationship, how do you build a portfolio, how do you manage it, and all that. So this was a great opportunity for me to transition from agricultural research to investment management.
So then give us a little sense, and I get you're 3 or 4 weeks into this, but how do you see your role playing out at Fortis Green? What will you be doing for Fortis Green?
At Fortis Green, it will be more of like due diligence and also analyzing the data, trying to manage the portfolio, building relationships, and also I think that's most of it: due diligence, managing portfolio, building relationships.
So as you get started here at Fortis Green and kind of the next chapter of your life, and you don't have to answer this question, just for the here and now, but how would you say you're trying to change the world, whether it's in a big way or whether it's in a small way?
I started on a personal level, making an impact on my surroundings, friends, and family. Probably this is something you might hear from most of my friends. I'm always talking about mental health and also having a sense of serving others. So I think starting from my friends and the family, surrounding myself with people that kind of we share the same purpose, the same goal, it makes easy for me to even make impact on others. But also, the other way I'm changing the world, I'll say I'm changing the world, was when I was in sophomore year, my friends and I, we started an NGO called Future Agriculture Leaders. And our goal, our purpose was to support high school students to help them understanding the value of doing agriculture, that it's not only you digging and cultivating or like just feeding yourself, but you can even start a business out of it. So we started hosting summer camps every year, and we have had over 150 students from high school, teaching them how they can even start from their families, starting from neighborhoods, starting small businesses out of the agriculture that they can do.
So I'm assuming a lot of farmers in Africa are farming to eat themselves, not so
Yes.
much from a business perspective. Is that true?
Yes. So we are kind of like trying to make that impact to make sure that they understand that.
How hard is it to transition a traditional farmer who's feeding them, for themselves? We call it a subsistence farmer.
Yes,
So how hard is it to make that transition to a business for them?
it is actually hard because in Rwanda, people they don't have big lands. So that's how the government started a program of consolidating land, where they bring in people who have even small land, and then they would do something called a cooperative, and then they would start selling to other producers.
Here's an interesting question. I'm anxious to hear your perspective. When did you realize the power of capital? And maybe what does that mean to you?
Like I said, when I was working with those small startups, that's when I realized the power of having capital as someone just wants to start something. At the end of the day, you might even have those ideas, brilliant ideas, but if you don't have even how to even how to move from the office to go talk to the customer, it's going to be hard for you. And another thing that I've seen, when you don't have a capital, it limits the way you think about the world. Like it misses your innovations. It's so hard to think in an innovative way if you can even afford the basics. So capital enables entrepreneurs to turn the ideas into reality, but also to be more innovative. That's how when I was working with these startups, that's when I realized actually capital means a lot to them.
So this next question, you've heard of the word stewardship.
Yes.
What's interesting about this question to me is because America is probably more about self than Africa is much more about community. So I'm anxious to hear how you will think about this. What does stewardship mean to you, and how do you try to live that out?
For me, actually, when I had over stewardship first was when I was just reading about the capital, trying like to catch up in the industry, what is happening, the terms they use. But when I had over stewardship in the capital, in my mind, it's like it's my understanding is how you manage others' capital as your own. So how do I approach it? How do I live it? For instance, I moved to now I'm at my place. I moved to my place 2 weeks ago. Renting this apartment for me, it's not just renting it, but how do I live in it like it's my own? How do I treat it like it's my own? Not just because I'm renting it and then I'm supposed to use it however I want. I think that kind of like doing it not just because you are being seen by someone or because it's not just about doing it for yourself like it's yours. I think that's how I approach this stewardship in the capital. So managing somebody's capital like it's my own, that's how I'm approaching it. And another thing, like when I look in the long term, that helped me to create kind of like a character or routine of how I can manage mine in the future when I start my own venture studio.
Is this your first apartment? I think you're probably. Are you renting it with somebody?
No, 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 I live by myself.
You do. So is this the first time you ever lived by yourself?
This is the first time.
How is it going? Do you love it, or is it lonely?
Love it. I love it. At some point, I love it. It kind of like bring you peace, and you have all your place by yourself. But also on the other side, I'm kind of like an extrovert person, so it feels kind of lonely.
Well, I can imagine because, like at Agahozo, you would have had whatever, surrounded by 500 students.
Yes, and in a room you're like 4 to 5 people. When you go out in the house, you are 16 to 20 people. So
Yeah, that's great. Well, congratulations. And I love your mindset about, hey, I'm renting this, but I'm going to use it in such a way as if I owned it to take care of it. And no, I think it's a great way to live. All right. So in closing, if you could have a dream come true, what would that be?
the first one, because that's where my focus is starting my own venture studio. It's not something that is happening soon. Maybe after 10 to 15 years, I don't know. But having my venture studio where I can bring in youth, eco-friendly businesses, support them, help them grow, make an impact on the community, get out and continue doing what they want to do, bring in more. That's what I want to do. But on the other side is I think we have had this discussion before about starting my family. So that's my dream. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, that's my dream. I want to see start with my family, how it's going to be. Yeah, I'm very excited.
For those who, nobody was on this visit with us, but we went to a school and met a bunch of students, and there was a joke that went around. And so we have a picture of somebody who could be your wife someday, but she needs to be older before that would have to happen. So, but if it happens, we've got the picture. So, hey, one last question for you. In America, which you lived here, so you probably experienced the same thing, very quickly you don't think about power. You turn on your lights, you do whatever. I mean, you just take it for granted. How would you describe to an American how critical the electrification of Africa is to Africans and the African continent? Can you give us a little context? Because I think we get so used to just we take it for granted. So, any thoughts you could share on that?
Like I'll give them an example. When I was in primary school, that was in like around like 2000 to 2008, there, only 5 to 10% of household had electricity here in Rwanda. And you can imagine like how many people and 60% of it, of all that 5 to 10% here in Rwanda, they were living in Kigali. So you can imagine the whole country was in the dark. So we're talking in Africa, like electrifying Africa is a critical and urgent imperative because it makes impact on a larger scale, on economics, on social life. Like people, it can make an impact on, like it kind of connects to everything on living, like everything that we're going through today. Because you'll find, yeah, like we have seen this on that school that I went to, in Rwanda, you'd find students they spend most of their time on the daily at school, and then they go home, they're in the dark. So before they go home, they have to make sure they do their assignments and revise whatever the exam they have to take tomorrow. And you don't have the privilege of going home and revising. So it can impact your whole education on the other side. And also on the at home, the way you interact, you're not going to have a connection with your family because you are in the dark. You can still sit till like 10 p.m. or 9 p.m. because you are in the dark. You don't have time to spend with your family. So it kind of connects to everything: health, education. Like you can't even own a fridge. You can't even know what is happening in the world, like information, because you can't have a TV. You can't have like all those basic needs that you think it's basic in the US, but it's actually a privilege. When like sitting down, you're playing a video game, you're chatting with a friend, you can't have it. So all those things that probably when I was in the US took for granted, I know like there's like so many kids that here in Africa would be happy to have it. And now I can see the impact of how the investment in renewable energy is making, because the goal in Rwanda was to have 100% by 2024 of a household that can access electricity. But now we are like 65%, which is good. We can see the progress is happening. And all that has happened in the last 10 years. I would say it's a good leadership that we have today. Yeah, we appreciate it.
So this may be a silly question, but if you don't have power and you don't really have light, what time are people going to bed? They going to bed early?
Yes, Ali. Because I remember when I was a kid, it was supposed 7 p.m. Everybody was going to bed, and then would wake up at 5, 5, 8.
So you go to bed early and then people are up early probably because of the light, but then also just necessity to get going in the day, right?
Yes, but also like to understand the level of how much it's impact you, even like the transport, even on transport, like people wouldn't be walking around because you can be walking around in the dark. So at the end of the day, you have to wait till the sunrise. Yeah, it's gonna connect to everything.
Well, I just remember when we were there. In fact, I think it's when you guys left us a little bit before Musanze. We were driving out, and it was definitely dark. And I'm like, there's all these people walking on this side of the street, and you're like, it's dark. I mean, it's dangerous I don't know about from a dangerous from a people's perspective, but I mean from a car perspective, you couldn't see them very well. I mean, obviously your headlights, but it was like, man, that seems like a real hazard. As soon as it gets dark, it's dark.
Yes, and like think on the perspective of healthcare. If electricity is no electricity, they can like for the invention for vaccines, medicine, like for instance, there's operation going on. So there's if something like that happens, so much can happen in healthcare as well. This is so major. This is critical, and we need to take it serious.
The closest that we've come, at least my family, to experiencing lack of power in Florida, we get hurricanes, and we've, in the scheme of things, is not a big deal, but we were without power multiple times for a week at a time, and it just changes everything. I mean, it puts your life on kind of hold almost. Now, we're not used to it, but still, I mean, just the basic stuff that you don't even think about. It's like, oh, this is, especially if you've had it, and it's like, oh, this is a horrible way to live. It just slows everything down. Well, look, it's been a pleasure, obviously getting to know you over the last several weeks, but then also pleasure to have you on this podcast. Anything you want to say in closing to our listeners?
Yeah, I would like to thank you all and thank you, Dave. And it was so nice meeting you, and so grateful for the investment impact you are making in Rwanda, in Africa, and we look forward for so many people to invest in Africa.
Yeah, well, we love it. So, Ferdinand, we appreciate your insight, appreciate your vulnerability. Don't forget to subscribe to A New Lens with CommonGood Capital on your podcast app of choice. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify. This will help other listeners find the show and hopefully put them on a path to a more fulfilling portfolio within the impact investing space. So, Ferdinand, pleasure. Look forward to seeing you again in person on your turf, and also get you over here to the U.S. at some point again.
Yeah, thank you so much.
This podcast is a production of CommonGood Capital and does not constitute an offer or a solicitation of an offer. Such offer would only be made through a private placement memorandum. Prospective investors in private placement securities should be aware that making an investment is speculative and involves a high degree of risk, including the risk of losing all or a portion of an investment. Investments of this nature are illiquid and subject to substantial restrictions upon transferability.